All right, question 3. All right, this is to David.
You're not asking me a question about me?
Wait. Question 3. This is to
Okay. I
David.
apologize.
This is to David. All right. There's many things. I guess this is like it's not just one question. All right. Do you think Sean will like settle down? You think, all right, it would change him once he has his first kid? And
It's a good question.
with many successful like businessmen and like they're never satisfied. So you think will Sean ever be satisfied in life?
Quick answers would be no and no, but I think that's kind of what makes Sean Sean. So I think that having a kid will maybe change him, maybe like soften him up a little bit. But ever since, if you would have asked me this 10 years ago, I would say yes. I would have thought that he would have changed by now, but obviously he hasn't, and what he's doing is working. So I think the big things for Sean, like he gets the most joy and enjoys the most would be like business. And having a kid's just going to add joy to his life. He's going to have another thing to love and nourish and nurture, but he's not going to like his life won't change all that much. I think he's going to continue working, spending most of his time on his business. I think he'll be a good dad. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's going to be, which it shouldn't really like. You're not devoting everything, all of your time and energy and thoughts to this one thing. So I don't think it'll change all that much. I think again, maybe he'll soften up a little bit. He'll just have something else to love.
Yeah.
The second one,
That's what I'm
being
hoping.
satisfied. Being satisfied. No, but again, I think that's kind of the point, right? That's like the whole mindset thing. That's been Sean's. I mean, I think like the first time I rolled my eyes at Sean was when he was like, oh, I was gonna be a millionaire, gonna be a millionaire, gonna be a millionaire. And then it was more of like, oh my God, dude, get over it. And then like that doesn't now seem as like a stretch goal. Right now it's like, no, I'm gonna be a billionaire, whatever it is. There's always gonna be something. Sean needs something to chase. And I've always seen that. And when he gets there, it's never gonna be enough. And that's again, that's not a bad thing.
I mean, yeah, as long as like I'm happy, then that is kind of the goal.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
the kid
Yeah.
thing, like you think the kid thing changed you?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
No.
Like I think I've always been interested in the power, and I've asked a lot of people about like when you have a kid. They say it's something you can never understand unless you do it, and like I get that. Like I've been preparing myself not to be like, all right, I'm on a path. I don't want to have a kid and then get thrown off the path. So I think that I've been like preparing myself for it. It'll help. But like I think for like a 22-year-old who didn't plan to get pregnant, that could be like somehow the kid changes like your life. I think, right?
Yeah, like when people say changes your life, I don't think they mean like it changes your trajectory or your course or your maybe your priorities. Maybe, but
I think a lot of the people. I think. Okay, here's like the stereotype that I'm trying to avoid, and like I think happens to some people. They're all about their career and their life and themselves. Then they have a kid and they become so selfless that they lose. Like they care more about the kid than themselves, which I can still do, but then they kind of like lose their fire career wise a little bit for like. I think that is like maybe like one of the stereotypes that I'm trying to avoid that some people might hit.
I think that this is again something that you just see through your lens. Like you're always looking at things that way. I don't think that's when I've always taken it as more like less you lose focus on your career, more like everything that you do is for your kids. So like your career now being ambitious and striving for whether it be money or whatever it is, like you're doing that. Now you have another reason to do that. You're doing it to provide a better life for your kid rather than, accomplish something for yourself.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but there's always like every decision you make, not every decision, but like most decisions you make are going like you want to like your kid will factor into it, maybe consciously, maybe not, but like more so making sure they're safe and provided for and setting a good example.
Right.
But it changes your life in like a way that's undescribable, not to sound like cliche, but like you're all in this little thing and you're like up to that point, everything it's always been like for this, me and Lauren, for this would be you and Shelby, and like it's always been your world where it's just the two of you. That'll never be the same. You know what I mean? Like that will never happen again.
That will change.
So your life changes completely. Like I'll never sleep in again. I'll never like
well maybe like when,
up and
no,
but, like,
eventually
adults,
you should go to college. or
45
something.
yeah, but like a 45, 60-year-old's not going to sleep until 11. You know what I mean?
Nah, you're gonna get up
Um,
really early.
but like there's obviously a lot of sacrifices. Your life changes. There's always something to do, whether it be for the kid or around the house. You don't have time for it because you're helping with the kid, or work or whatever. But it's like the most worth it thing. It's the most amazing
yeah.
feeling and experience. So I'm
Like,
excited for
the
hopefully you guys have a kid sometime
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah. The other day I Googled, like, does Dave Portnoy have a kid? I'm always fascinated, and I guess he does.
Who doesn't?
I thought I saw it. I thought I saw he did. He used to have be married. He doesn't have a kid.
He did. He doesn't have a kid. He was married. But
Okay.
he does not have a kid.
Because
He says like he may or may not want to have kids, but
I'm interested in like the trajectory of like Bill Burr, for example. Like he just had a baby. Like
the
and-
second
and
one,
that's
yeah.
that's why I think that joke is so funny about Meadow Soprano and her dad and the meme. Dad, did you used to have a podcast? Because like right now, say something stupid on this podcast, whatever. Like, but what if that something you do like affects your kids? Like maybe politicians have to like deal with that type of stuff, or like most regular parents don't have
Those are
actions
public
that-
figures.
public, yeah, exactly. Like, and I'm not saying I am one, but like, if the podcast keeps going and growing or something, say I like am one in a way, even on a smaller level. Right? Like, will I tone it down because it might reflect my kid? Like, I think that's interesting, and I try to look for people who are outspoken, like public voices that have kids, and I try to like see how they've done it, and I think that part is interesting.
I'm just amazed how Gary Vee is like no one knows about his family, his kids.
Yeah,
That's how
No one's seen a picture or anything.
there's no pictures of his family. Yeah,
How? That's so crazy.
I was thinking for you, Sean, or you said Portnoy does or has a kid. He doesn't, but Dan Katz does. Big Cat has a kid. He had a kid like recently. He had this huge podcast for years, and then he mentioned he's having a kid, but nobody's seen any pictures. Nobody knows his name. Like he's always kept his private life very private. But if somebody like Dave Portnoy had a kid, like his private life has always been very
trying to
public.
keep it
So
private,
that would be
right.
But I don't think he would, because
I'm
that's
I'm not opposed to like me and Shelby have our live at lunch show. Like I would maybe like bring the kid on there at a young age. But there's also like Big Cat like talking about sports, loudmouth, public commentary. Like that doesn't actually affect a 2-month-old or a 3-year-old.
No.
But by the time the kid's like 8, 9, 14, like then they can like, I don't know, like Mike Greenberg on ESPN. I don't know why he popped into my head, but he always like mentions his kids are like watching, like he's parenting a little bit like from the screen. Like he's on TV every morning at 8:00. And like when his kids are getting up, a lot of kids are watching Mike and Mike, and like that's on the TV. So like he's the dad that's on TV, and I guess they're not so outspoken on like ESPN, but I just think it's such an interesting element, especially when the kid is old enough, and like the balance between role model and like, I don't know, does Howard Stern have kids?
he has at least one daughter, maybe two.
Like I wonder how he treats that. Like I know Joe Rogan has daughters. I'm
He
sure
has
they're
a couple
aware.
daughters.
He has
Yeah,
he has 2 current daughters with his current wife, and then an older daughter.
but they're
feel
not
there's-
like
That 12 to 17 is like those are the years I'd be worried.
Impressionable.
Those are the years I'd be worried about. Before that, they don't know what's going on. After that, they're cool enough to get it. But those years, those impressionable years, I think, from the public standpoint of talking about stuff, are the years you would be the most worried about.
I think the thing that you have to consider is like, are you being authentic? Are you yourself? Are you a very completely different person in like, if it's somebody who's like an amplified version of themselves or whatever. All right, well then you raise a kid who's old enough or like strong enough and smart enough and logical enough to understand that like this is work, this is not. Or there are some people who are just always themselves, in which case is like you can go listen to your dad talk to your mom, or you can listen to your dad on a podcast. It's the same
I
thing.
plan on always trying to be myself at least, and like
Mhm.
so. Right, if I could just do that, like I always thought like, what is with your kid like? What are your feelings about cursing? You probably don't know yet, but like
We curse a lot.
like I don't know yet. I haven't had a kid, but like I'm imagining my 4-year-old go like fuck, and like I just laugh.
Well,
like
I
say,
think
you can't
like,
say that at school, but
even at home, I don't want my 4-year-old doing that because it's like trashy. I just don't like that. But like if it's like a teenager and like they're cursing for no reason, that's one.
It's like,
thing.
dude,
If
you
you're
sound
cursing
like a
to,
scumbag.
emphasize a point. You know what I mean? Like there's reasons and there's times where you can use it, and I think it's appropriate. But if you're
Yes.
just effing and jeffing, you sound like a scumbag or like
Right.
a classless person. That's different. So
Right.
again, raising a kid that understands.
So that lesson isn't about cursing or not cursing. That lesson is about presentability.
right.
Like, and that's the lesson that you would teach if you see them. Like, okay, cool,
That's
you
the-
curse. Ooh, like sick, dude.
The scary thing about having a kid is like not like physically harming them. It's like raising them to be an asshole. Do you know what I mean?
No,
Like raising
what do
them
you
to
mean?
not. It's like you don't want to raise a kid who's like a spoiled brat or like a jerk or a butthole. Or like curse, a 9-year-old who's going around cursing, effing and jeffing, and just being like a pain in the ass and like annoying other parents and just being a brat and being mean to other
Right.
kids.
Of
Because
We're gonna
all the
raise a kid.
responsibility feels like it's on you, right?
That's the scary part. Yeah, it's like making sure. Not I wouldn't know if scary, but that's like the responsibility is like making sure.
Jordan
that you raise-
Peterson, who's like an intellectual, he has 21 rules for life. One of his top rules is don't raise kids that you wouldn't want to hang out with.
Right.
Like, and then like
But that's easier said than done. How do you do that? Nobody knows how to parent.
Exactly. Like, but that's the goal. Like, if you hate your own kids, and like people hate your kids like that, you're fucking them up.
Like, what's the difference between a dad who's a huge Eagles fan who has 2 sons that are huge Eagles fans versus the dad who has 2 sons that are like huge Cowboys fans just because dad is an Eagle? You know what I mean? Like, what's the difference?
I mean, the sports team that you like I feel like that is like kind of family based. But if you
Well,
say like
but-
one dad's an asshole and he has 2 kids that are assholes, and one dad's a nice guy who's
One dad could be like the nicest guy in the world, and his kid just is a Cowboys fan because he wants to like buck the trend or like go against the grain, and that's like we see that a lot here. I know it's a stupid example, but it's more like what like was a kid born with this where he just wants to like be different, or did the dad
Right.
like force this on them? I don't know.
right.
Some
Like
example,
being different than your parents is like a trait that might be nature or nurture. And
Right.
if you're an Eagles fan, die hard, and your kid's a different. Like, what did I do to make him a Cowboys fan?
Yeah,
Because
Like you could be a Bills fan. That's fine. You could be a Jets fan.
yeah.
Doesn't matter.
But
Like,
why?
you have to be?
Well, one of the
chose
first
the
questions
one
would be,
that-
why aren't you an Eagle fan? It's like in that movie
one thing you
with
don't
Robert
do.
De Niro and Jennifer Lawrence, the dancing movie.
Yeah, silver lining.
Yeah. Robert De Niro's like, I just watch the game with me, son. Just watch the game with me. I want to bond with you. I want to watch. Like,
Right,
that's what we do. We watch the game together. Like, so like it's kind of rude for a kid to do that in a way, but maybe you need to analyze. You're doing something wrong that the kid's going against you.
Right.
Yeah, it's complex, and I mean, I'm talking like I'm a parent, which I'm not, but yeah, you just got to make sure that you're authentic and you're cool, and like, don't like lie to your kid about something that you do. But, say it's like smoking cigarettes, like, and they catch you smoking when you're drunk once, like.
What if
Explain
you're a
it.
mobster and you kill people? Do you like?
That's
Yeah.
a good. That's a weird example. Like, don't kill people, and then you don't have to explain it.
Yeah.
But like, just
But I see
being
what you're
like,
saying. Yeah.
like, or drinking is always an interesting one because at a family event, you get together your sisters, your cousins, brothers, your aunts and uncles. You're drinking Thanksgiving, and the kids are there. And they're not drinking. They're like, you can't drink, and they're like, well, why not? I think one of the things I've seen on TV and in real life is like they're like, have a sip. Here, have a sip. And the kid takes a sip of beer and he's like, shh. It's like, yeah, it's gross. Don't do it. Like I think I get why they're doing that because they're like, here, try it. Like, and
My
it
dad
tastes
did.
bad. It tastes bad, and then yeah, but like you have to be able to justify the things that. It's just like an employee. If you're like, do this because I said so, and they're like, why? You have to
Mhm.
be able to at least justify why you're saying
Or at
these
least
things.
let them make their own mistakes. Let
Yeah.
them figure it out. You
And I
give
think
them. I saw something that was like give the kids the paint, but let them paint their own picture. It's like
Yeah.
arm them with the tools. Make
That's
sure that
good.
they like have the logic, but they got to figure it out on their own at a certain point.
That's good. And then like also don't be so coddling that you don't let them face minor
Adversity.
problems and minor adversities. Because like if you have major adversities, you can't maybe shield them. But if you're well off and your kid's generally been shielded from adversity, and in first grade they get their first adversity situation, don't solve it for them. And that is going to be your natural human instinct as a parent, especially since you were just stopping them from falling and hitting their head on the corner. Like everything you've ever done's been protecting them. Now they have like an emotional challenge, and you first instinct is to like protect them. Like you have to be like hold and like go against your instincts a little bit to let them face those challenges, or else they'll be. And I think that's like the stereotype of like millennials. They got coddled growing up, and now they don't know how to face the real world, and they just want to me too everyone.
You know who says that? You know who like is the The people that say that are the kids that are the people that raised millennials, like the parents.
Yeah, that's true.
Like if they're that way, they're because of you.
Yeah, and it's funny how millennials now are like grown-ups and like we're doing fine.
Yeah, of course.
I almost forgot. If you really enjoyed the clip, if you really enjoyed the podcast, one thing I would appreciate more than anything, just hit the little subscribe button. And I have hours and hours of podcast footage talking to some of the best entrepreneurs out there on YouTube. Watch some more of them. Check out this. Check out this. Go ahead and binge. Have some fun. I love you. Thanks for watching.